Welcome to the debate. So, imagine you are Ronald Koeman, right? You manage one of the most mechanically perfect football teams on earth.
Oh, absolutely. A total machine.
Right. Yet, heading into the biggest match of the year, you are tearing up your entire tactical playbook for one man, and that man is a right back.
A right back. I mean, it sounds crazy when you say it out loud.
It really does. But here we are. On June 29th or 30th, the Netherlands face Morocco in Monterrey, Mexico. This is a massive round of 32 World Cup clash. And the defining question we are exploring today is, well, this. Can a single defender, Achraf Hakimi, exert so much tactical gravity that he single-handedly breaks the Dutch system?
Oh, and this is the flip side, right? Will Morocco's success ultimately depend on their collective defensive organization, precisely because the Dutch are building their entire game plan around, neutralizing him?
Exactly. It's the classic collision of individual brilliance versus systemic architecture. You have a generational talent on one side and a world-class manager setting a bespoke trap for him on the other.
Yeah. I mean, I'm taking the stance today that football at this elite international level is strictly dictated by the collective. Because Ronald Koeman has explicitly targeted Hakimi as the primary threat in his pre-match press conferences.
He really did not hold back there.
No, he didn't. And because of that, Morocco's actual fate rests heavily on their defensive solidity, anchored by Yassine Bounou, obviously. It will not be Hakimi the individual who wins this. It will be the Moroccan collective surviving the tactical realities imposed upon them.
Well, I completely disagree. I am taking the position today that Hakimi is the ultimate decisive factor. His unmatched momentum, his offensive prowess, and just his sheer leadership make him the primary tactical engine for Morocco.
A right back as the primary engine.
Yes. We aren't just talking about a great defender. We are talking about a player whose specific profile as a complete two-way force makes him uniquely capable of dismantling the Dutch defense, regardless of how meticulously Koeman prepares.
Okay, but how exactly does one guy dismantle a system like that?
Well, let me build the foundation for my perspective here, because we really have to understand the exact profile of Achraf Hakimi in 2026.
Fair enough.
We are looking at a player who has entirely redefined the geometric possibilities of the right flank. He is entering this tournament at the absolute peak of his powers. Look at his club form, right? He's arriving at this World Cup fresh off back-to-back Champions League titles with Paris Saint-Germain in 2025 and 2026. Alongside just utter domestic dominance in France. He isn't just arriving with good fitness. He is arriving with the physiological and psychological rhythm of a perennial champion.
Look, nobody is questioning his pedigree. I mean, he is undeniably in a period of sustained elite success.
Right, but that success translates directly to his output on the pitch for the national team. Like, look at the tape from Group C. He played every match as the starting captain, and in that crucial 4-2 victory over Haiti, he didn't just participate in the tactical setup, he dictated the entire flow of the game.
He was man of the match, yes.
Man of the match. He scored his first goal of the tournament, provided assists, and was literally the central node of the attack. What makes him the decisive factor against the Netherlands is the mechanics of his threat. His elite speed, his long-range shooting capability, and incredibly precise crossing. That constitutes an offensive force that transcends standard defensive planning. You can plan for a traditional winger, but a right back who attacks with the ferocity of a forward, who arrives late into the penalty area totally unmarked, or strikes from 30 yards out,
I get it.
that makes him the absolute most likely catalyst for a winning goal against this Dutch side.
Look, I understand the temptation to look at his individual accolades and, the Haiti match and project that onto the Netherlands. Hakimi is one of the greatest right backs in the history of the modern game, full stop.
Glad we agree on that.
But I have to question the fundamental logic here. Can an individual defender reliably serve as the primary offensive key against a tournament favorite in a knockout environment? I mean, Ronald Koeman is a deeply pragmatic, highly analytical manager.
Sure.
When he explicitly highlights Hakimi as a threat this week, he isn't just paying a compliment. He's broadcasting a tactical reality. He is guaranteeing targeted, systematic marking.
Which only proves the immense gravity Hakimi possesses.
No, it proves he has a massive target on his back. When a team like the Netherlands builds a bespoke tactical structure to neutralize one player, that player's statistical output drops. They don't just ask their left winger to track back faster, they restructure their entire midfield pivot.
Oh, come on.
Go to build up down the left side, entirely starving Hakimi of possession in advanced areas.
See, you're assuming...
Let me finish this thought. Morocco's path to victory, therefore, inherently relies on the collective finding another way. To survive a powerhouse like the Dutch, you need immense, unbreakable defensive organization. It will hinge on a collective tactics, overall team fitness, and the flawless execution of the other 10 men on the pitch.
Okay, I completely disagree with the premise that Koeman's tactical marking will effectively neutralize Hakimi. Because honestly, you are treating the Dutch defense as if they are static cones.
I am absolutely not.
And you're treating Hakimi as if he operates in a vacuum of sustained possession. You argue that Koeman will cut off the supply lines and starve him. But let's look at how Hakimi actually plays. Let me offer a different way to look at this.
Go ahead.
Hakimi isn't just a fast runner. He is the queen on the chessboard. The Dutch might spend 5 tactical moves building a defensive wall on the left side of the pitch, right? But because of Hakimi's recovery speed and stamina, he can slide across the entire board in a single transition, rendering that wall completely useless.
A chess piece moves when the player decides to move it. In football, Koeman dictates the board state by controlling the center of the pitch. If Hakimi receives the ball 80 yards from the Dutch goal with his back to the play, his speed is entirely neutralized.
But time is exactly the factor Hakimi exploits. You were talking about 90 minutes of structured possession. Hakimi operates in the half-second of chaos during a transition.
A half second isn't enough against the Dutch mid-block.
It is, though. Knowing that Hakimi is going to use his blistering speed on counterattacks is vastly different from physically stopping him. His physical execution operates on a temporal plane that structured tactical marking just struggles to contain.
A temporal plane? Now we're getting a bit sci-fi, don't you think?
Hear me out. When Morocco wins the ball back deep in their own half, Hakimi's transition from a defensive posture to an overlapping sprint happens faster than the Dutch defensive line can physically readjust. His crosses and distance shooting require only a fraction of a second of space.
Yeah, but
Koeman has sounded the alarm, sure, but physically preventing Hakimi from finding that half-second of space before the midfield block is set, it's nearly impossible.
wait, let me stop you right there. Are you seriously suggesting that a player who will be heavily double-teamed by elite European defenders is going to consistently find these magical half seconds of space purely through transition speed?
Yes, I am.
Come on, if Koeman sets up a mid-block, the Dutch aren't going to get caught out of position that easily. They will use a disciplined rest defense.
Okay, but
That means even when the Netherlands are attacking, they will keep specific players back, specifically positioned in Hakimi's channel, to immediately delay his run the moment possession turns over. If he is pinned back dealing with Dutch wingers and immediately pressed upon winning the ball, his attacking threat is mathematically reduced.
mathematically maybe? But
He will have to spend 70% of the match doing what a right back is traditionally meant to do, which is defend. That is why the collective becomes the decisive factor. Hakimi will be busy defending.
But that assumes Morocco doesn't have the tactical sophistication to bypass a high press or a structured rest defense, which, frankly, their 2022 World Cup run and their current 2026 form completely contradict.
I'm not saying they aren't sophisticated.
But flowing directly from this idea of how Hakimi finds space, we really have to talk about the role of the supporting cast. I argue that Hakimi's presence and leadership are precisely what activate the rest of the team.
Oh, so now the rest of the team matters?
Of course they matter. He is a 3-time World Cup veteran, 2018, 2022, and now 2026. He isn't just a node in the system. He is the pacemaker for the entire Moroccan heartbeat. When he drives forward, he breaks lines, forcing the Dutch to collapse on him.
Exactly. They collapse on him, which is why you're inadvertently proving my point right now.
What? How?
Have you considered that you're reducing Morocco's incredible tactical diversity to a single point of failure? I would posit that if Koeman does what we expect and commits a left back and a holding midfielder to trap Hakimi on the touchline, Hakimi's greatest contribution might actually be as a decoy.
A decoy? You're calling the most prolific attacking fullback in the world, a player who just dominated the Champions League, a decoy? In this specific tactical context? Yes. Think about the geometry of the pitch. If Koeman commits 2 men to Hakimi's flank, a 15-yard pocket of negative space opens up between the Dutch center back and the midfield.
Right.
That is exactly the half space where a player like Brahim Diaz makes his living. The true difference makers in this match won't be Hakimi crossing the ball from the touchline. It will be Diaz exploiting that half space because the Dutch midfield has been dragged out of position.
Okay, I see where you're going, but
It will be Ismail Saibari making late runs into a penalty box that is missing a center back who had to step over to cover Hakimi. Hakimi doesn't even need to touch the ball to create a lethal 3-on-2 advantage in the center of the pitch.
but if his primary function is to stand wide and draw 2 defenders so that Bilal El-Khanous and Diaz can operate freely, can we truly call Hakimi the decisive factor? Or is the decisive factor the collective intelligence of the supporting cast to recognize and exploit that negative space?
I'm just not convinced by that line of reasoning because you are artificially separating the cause from the effect here.
How so?
You are essentially saying that if a magnet pulls iron filings to one side of a piece of paper, we should credit the empty space left behind rather than the magnet. Hakimi is the magnet.
That's a clever analogy, but
The definition of a decisive factor isn't just who puts the ball in the back of the net, though Hakimi proved against Haiti that he is more than capable of doing that himself. The decisive factor is the element that dictates the terms of engagement.
okay, but football isn't a magnet on paper.
Even if we accept your premise that Hakimi operates within a collective system, it is Hakimi's specific terrifying danger on the right side that dictates the entire match's geometry. Without his gravity, Diaz, Saibari, and El-Khanous are facing a compact, perfectly balanced Dutch defense. Hakimi forces the imbalance.
Look, it's a compelling theory to call him the magnet that forces the imbalance, really. But the physical reality of knockout football tells a different story. The foundation of this match won't be built on Hakimi's forward runs. It will be built on Moroccan defensive baselines.
Defensive baselines?
Yes, you mentioned the cause and effect. Let's look at the ultimate cause. If Yassine Bounou and the central defense do not maintain a flawless structural baseline, Hakimi's forward runs are not just moot. They are actively suicidal.
Suicidal? Come on, how so?
His recovery speed is legendary. Even if he's caught high, he tracks back faster than almost any winger in the tournament.
Because recovery speed doesn't matter if the ball moves faster than the man. If Hakimi is caught high up the pitch against a transitional powerhouse like the Netherlands, and the Moroccan midfield loses the ball, that vacated space on the right is exactly where the Dutch will strike.
Sure, transition defense is hard, but
Let's talk about the mechanics of rest defense for a moment. When Hakimi bombs forward, Morocco is essentially defending with a back 3. If the collective fails to hold the line, or if the central defenders drop even 5 yards too deep, Hakimi's magnet effect actually pulls the Dutch press right into Morocco's penalty area.
well, yeah, they have to defend properly. Bounou has to command that space perfectly. The central defenders have to cover Hakimi's channel flawlessly. Hakimi's freedom to be that offensive catalyst is entirely subsidized by the unglamorous collective discipline of the other 10 men on the pitch. Therefore, the collective is the decisive factor, not the individual.
Okay, that is a sharp point about rest defense. I'll give you that. But I would argue you're confusing what is necessary with what is decisive.
Oh, I'm not confusing them at all.
You are. I don't disagree that Bounou is world-class or that a flawless defensive baseline is necessary, but think of it this way. A foundation is necessary to build a house, right? But it's the architecture of the house that defines its value, its function, and its greatness.
Okay,
Hakimi is the architecture. Without Bounou, yes, Morocco loses. But without Hakimi's specific threat, Morocco merely survives. They play out a 0-0 grind. Hakimi's ability to transition from a deep defensive block into a lethal counterattack in mere seconds is what breaks the stalemate.
if he can get past the mid-block.
Which he can. It is what takes Morocco from being a team that is hard to beat to a team that actively slays giants. We saw them drop giants in 2022. They have the pedigree.
But look at the specific requirements for this match in Monterrey. The Dutch are favorites for a reason. They have elite, highly technical players in every single position. To overcome that systemic advantage, Morocco needs a flawless collective performance across all lines: tactics, fitness, and collective execution.
Right, but
Think about the permutations here. If Hakimi has a quiet game because Koeman's trap works perfectly, but Bounou makes 10 world-class saves, and Saibari scores a scrappy goal from a corner, Morocco advances.
Sure, that's possible.
The collective can absolutely survive a neutralized Hakimi, but Hakimi cannot survive a collapsed collective. If the midfield block failed, Hakimi's attacking metrics mean absolutely nothing.
Well, yeah, I concede that a collapsed collective dooms any player in the history of the sport. But we aren't talking about a collapsed collective here. We are talking about a highly functional, elite Moroccan side going into the round of 32.
Agreed, they are elite.
In a match where both the Dutch and the Moroccan collectives are functioning at a high level, the stalemate is broken by individual exceptionalism. That is why I maintain my stance. Achraf Hakimi is not just a participant in this tactical setup, he is the overarching variable. His unmatched form, his group stage dominance, and his ability to independently dismantle the Dutch defense through sheer speed, precise crossing, and distance shooting will be the reason Morocco advances. He breaks the system.
And I firmly maintain my view. While Hakimi is undeniably a generational talent, World Cup knockout football is, at its core, a collective enterprise. The targeted tactical preparation by Koeman guarantees that the Netherlands will not allow Hakimi to play his natural game unchecked.
Right.
Therefore, Morocco's success will ultimately depend on the broader defensive unit anchored by Bounou and the clinical exploitation of those secondary half spaces by his teammates. The collective execution of the game plan, rather than a single player's brilliance, will dictate who moves on to the round of 16.
Well, despite our deep divergence on what will, tip the scales on the pitch, I think we have reached some significant points of convergence today. We both absolutely agree that Hakimi's mere presence completely dictates the tactical terms of engagement for this clash.
Oh, undoubtedly. Whether you view him as the ultimate weapon breaking the lines or the ultimate decoy pulling the Dutch out of shape, he is the focal point of the tactical map.
Exactly.
We also agree that his pedigree, combined with Morocco's incredible run in 2022, proves they are highly capable of dropping giants. They will not be intimidated by the Dutch structure.
No, they certainly won't. And as we look forward to this clash in Mexico, it's just a beautiful reminder of the sport's inherent unpredictability. We can analyze the geometry, the half spaces, and the rest defense all day long. But once that whistle blows, all the tactical briefs go out the window, and it becomes a living, breathing chess match.
It really does. It leaves us to wonder if we'll be talking about a moment of individual magic from the captain, a thunderbolt from 30 yards that shatters the Dutch game plan, or if we will be marveling at the unyielding architecture of a collective, that fighting Dima Maghrib spirit of the entire squad refusing to break.
Beautifully said. Regardless of the outcome, the tactical depth on display here gives football enthusiasts an endless amount to explore and analyze. Does the star bend the universe to its will, or does the universe find a way to absorb the star's immense light? We'll find out on the pitch.